Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being part of our program. We appreciate it. Here we are together again on the radio from the beautiful Infinity Broadcasting Studios overlooking the Hudson River in New York City. And every once in a while we come to New York, just do a little business, then get the hell out of here. That's what I'm here to do. Got a lot of email the last couple of days about a show we did last week. Of course, we got a lot of email about that topic before we did it. And that was the studies that had been pulled together from various countries. And a number of scientists found out that the median number broke out this way. That 1 in 25 men think that's their kid, but it isn't. And this came from countries as diverse as the United States, South Africa, Finland, Mexico. I mean, they took peer-reviewed studies from all these countries. And they figured out that the median number would be 1 in 25 men. So about 4%. That's the median. Some countries much higher, some countries much lower. And I called on this program last week for mandatory DNA testing. Mandatory. Every live birth in America must be accompanied by a DNA test. You should not be able to put anybody's name on a birth certificate without a DNA test. Because otherwise, it's just fiction. I mean, you ask a woman who's the father of the child, and whatever name she says, that becomes fact, documented fact, without knowing if it's a fact. And there are consequences to documenting that as a fact. For one, guys end up having to pay for other guys' children. 2, guys walk around with their little boys and girls thinking they are fathers, and they are not. 3, this is a problem for the welfare departments of the world and the child support enforcement people around the world who frequently are chasing the wrong people. All of the litigation that ensues. And finally, it is my contention that if we mandate DNA testing for every live birth, you're going to have a lot less unwanted children born into the world. Many children who are born into situations with single mothers, born into situations with women chasing guys for child support, would not be born in the first place. Because women would know that they would have to answer for who the father really is. Sometimes the father really isn't the person he's supposed to be. Married women having affairs, live-in girlfriends having affairs, and then saying, tag, you're it, you're the dad, that's it, done deal, end of story. We could end all of this. Or at least curtail it to a large extent. Well, I got a lot of email about that, and a number of people are opposed to the idea of mandatory DNA testing. There are actually people, and there are movements and organizations out there who do not believe that a man has a right to know whether or not that child is his. There are actually states now trying to pass laws, if you can imagine this, that would require a man to get a woman's consent before there be a DNA test on a child. That would be outrageous. The reason given by some of these organizations is that, if men find out they're not the father, this could cause domestic violence. Look, domestic violence is wrong. Violence is wrong. I don't even believe there should be a separate category for domestic violence. Violent acts against other people are wrong. And if you are living with a violent person, shame on you, you moron. But what is causing domestic violence in that case, sorry to say it, girls, is not that the guy finds out he's not the dad. What causes domestic violence, wrongly, let me repeat, wrongly, but nonetheless, is that you screwed another man and then tried to pass that kid off as your husband's child. I mean, let's think about it for a second. Again, violence, wrong, bad. Prosecute people who commit violent acts. Put them in prison. But let's face facts, girls. First of all, you fall in love with these violent nutcases. And second of all, after all that, you then go out and have affairs behind these guys' backs. And then you're afraid he might find out that he's not the father. How about you leave the guy? How about you not get into a relationship with a violent man? Men wouldn't have the right to know whether or not they're the father of their own children unless women gave permission. The only women who would give permission are women who know they are faithful. The other women could simply not give permission. And think about this if you're worried about domestic violence. If you're with a violent guy and the guy says, I want a DNA test because I want to know if this is my son, and a woman refuses to let him have the DNA test because he needs her permission and she says no, how much domestic violence do you think you're going to have then? This is just stupid. It is not well thought out. What we need, frankly, is if women do screw around, that we need them to have an abortion so that the wrong man doesn't pay child support. And if you have DNA testing, that is what will happen. Bastard children will not be born. These situations will not develop. Bottom line. It's a total outrage. Total outrage. This idea that men don't have the right to know whether or not that child is theirs. And there are people trying to make these laws right now under the pretense of the possibility of domestic violence. Oh, my God, if a man found out he wasn't the father of the child, that could cause domestic violence. Ridiculous. Every man has a right to know whether that's his child. And if a woman is worried about what a man's reaction is going to be when he finds out he's not the father of the kid, how about you stop screwing around? Am I wrong?
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM.
I don't think you're anything like your air personality.
Maybe this is just a small slice of the whole pie.
Good or bad?
I guess I have to leave that up to the rest of humanity to decide.
The Tom Leykis Show.
It's the Tom Leykis Show from New York City. At 1-800-5800-TOM. That's our telephone number. Mandatory DNA testing for live births. I call for that more than once on this program, and now I'm getting all these people writing and going, what about domestic violence? What if a man finds out he's not the father of his kid? Women are going to get hit. Look, you sluts, how about you not screw around? Or how about if you're done with the relationship, how about you leave? How about you not be banging out babies with other guys? What happens when a woman says, you don't have permission? I will not allow you to get a DNA test on our kid. Think that won't cause domestic violence? Huh, girls? 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. Chris on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, Tom.
Chris.
Long time, first time.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing today?
Do you care, Chris?
Yes, I do. I am a devout listener to you.
Keep it going, baby.
All right. So here, I got a good story for you. My dad went to Vietnam, 68, 69, did 2 tours. In between those 2 tours, he came home and hooked up with this girl named Brenda. So anyhow, he has a kid, supposedly, with this girl. And so when he gets back out for 3 years, he's in and out of the courts with her, trying to get custody of this little girl. Finally, the girl just flips out and takes off out of state and says to the little girl when she gets older, your father's dead. So my dad's thinking, wow, I've got this daughter out there that's running around. I don't even know who she is. About a year ago, he gets contacted by her, and that's a long story how she found him, so I won't even get into that. But about 4 weeks ago, we went and visited her because she tracked us down. And we went, and the whole family's like, wow, she's like nothing like the rest of the family. She doesn't even look like Dad. She has no mannerisms. So my dad's like, that's it, I'm getting a DNA test right away. Got the DNA test about 2 weeks ago. Lo and behold, it's not my father's child. And yeah, I agree. I don't know what to say about that woman, but she's disrupted my dad's life, and off what I thought was my sister, Brandy, has disrupted her. She's just a complete mess. So,
wow. Yeah,
mandatory DNA testing has to happen.
And are you really worried about whether it's going to cause domestic violence?
Oh, yeah, I think it could have very easily. My dad got very upset. I mean, very upset. And I've never seen him get upset like that, you know? And he was using words that I've never heard him use before about a woman, the C word, and he never uses that word when he's describing a woman. So, I don't condone violence at all, but at the same time, I can see how this would disrupt somebody's life, the deceptions, the lies, just the guilt and the anger that my dad went through, thinking that he had a daughter out there that was his.
There's two ways to prevent domestic violence, girls. One, don't hook up with violent guys. Two, don't screw around on them and have babies with them. Exactly. Or have babies with the other guy while you're with them.
Just don't be a slut. That's all. That's it. Don't be a slut.
Well, don't be a slut. But, I mean, the point is, first of all, why would you hook up with a violent guy? If you're with a violent guy, well, why wouldn't you leave at the first sign of violence? And number three, if you are with a violent guy and somehow you didn't know until later on, how about you not get pregnant by him or anybody?
That's too easy.
And the real reason that no one wants to talk about is there's a certain number of women who have this issue who just are into the drama of it all. They're into the drama.
Yep.
Yeah. So, anyway, bottom line, I agree with you. You agree with me. Thank you so much. I appreciate the call. It's 1-800-5800-TOM. Lenise on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hello, Tom. The guy before me kind of hit on it before. Forget about the women. We're not thinking about the well-being of these children when we don't demand DNA tests. A child has a right to know who its parents are, and God forbid if something happened, they need a kidney transplant or a bone marrow transplant, and come to find out daddy can't do it because that's not really daddy. How is that going to devastate this child when they grow up and find out that this person raising them is not even their real father? And any mother that loves her child would want her child to know who their true parents are.
Right. And if people want to have babies with other men, then they ought to get out of the relationships they're in.
And how much do you love, you love this other man enough to have an affair with him, but not enough to make him take care of his own child? You're already starting off being a terrible mother before the child's even born. You're already a
Well, you know how this works. I mean, sure, women in situations with violent men who have sex with other guys, they don't want the guy finding out. Then there are women who have sex with a very hot pizza delivery guy, and their husband is a very rich stockbroker, fat, bald, older, whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, certainly the pizza guy can't provide for the kid as well as the stockbroker.
That's true, but any mother who's doing that and has this baby is not a mother who truly loves her child.
I agree with you.
I don't care what they say. You do not love your child if you're doing that and you don't give them all the information. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you for the call. David on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Van, hey, things are going great. How are you, big guy?
Doing okay, David.
Hey, just real quick. Oh, by the way, I was in Southern Cal last week on business. Thank God you're on the radio. Sitting in that traffic going down to 405, ridiculous.
Yeah, people in Seattle love to complain about the traffic. Come to Southern California. I'll show you traffic.
It's not even close. Anyway, hey, regarding DNA, logically, there is no explanation not to do DNA testing unless you're wanting to commit fraud. I mean, what's more important, identifying the proper parents, their real parents, and the only reason why not to do DNA is because there is a group of people that are willing to commit fraud. I mean,
I'm going to tell you one of the many reasons they don't want to make mandatory DNA testing a reality. That is because if they can't tag some hapless loser and make him pay child support, welfare will end up having to pick up that slack. Well, so they would rather tag some guy who is not the father and make him pay than to make welfare pay.
Well, that's true, but still, there's going to be that other half that, I mean, as I told my kids, no such thing as an accident. You made a decision to do something. I don't ever want to hear there was an accidental, pregnancy. And so when you have kids, there is two sides to the equation. So, I mean, if you do mandatory DNA testing, people can't squirrel away from it.
No doubt about it. You and I are on the same side on this. I'm not getting a lot of, I've got a lot of complaints in the email, I'll tell you that. I stood here today going through the email. Lots of people pointing out this domestic violence angle. Haven't heard from any of them yet. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. It's Sean on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, what's up, Leykis?
Not much.
All right, man. I'm your proverbial violent listener. Not necessarily in the area of domestic violence, but it gets to the point that if I want something, especially something along the lines of a DNA test, there's no bitch in the world that's going to tell me no. And if she tries telling me no, I either cut her tongue out or break her wrist. And, I'll do a little time. I'm a double felon. I'm not afraid of a little more time. What the hell, who the hell is she to tell me whether or not I can't, find out if somebody is blood related to me? Is she psychotic? I mean, I don't know how you take this, but, I mean, I was beyond offended with that, and I don't take offenses from people. I stand up for myself.
Of course, you'd have to be psychotic to get involved with a violent person.
Well, a lot of people like being involved with violent people because they feel secure around them.
But they tend to be psychotic.
Well, I guess you want to call me psychotic, sure, but...
No, not you. It's the women attracted to you.
Oh, that's definitely...
You have your own issues, but being psychotic is certainly the province of a woman who wants to be with a violent man.
Oh, I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. Realistically speaking, though, man, I mean, violence begets violence, but... I don't know, chicks dig violent guys, especially those hot ones with all kinds of freaking issues, man. You hit that one right on the head. It's true.
No doubt about it. Tom on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, Tom. First time, long time. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
All right. You're absolutely right, man. I mean, any girl who denies a blood test to a guy who couldn't be involved with a child or not, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, unless she's got something to hide, I mean, what's the difference? The guy has the right to know, It's unbelievable.
There are states right now crafting legislation that would prevent a man from knowing whether a child is his without the mother's consent. The mother would have to consent to the DNA test for the child, or the man couldn't get one.
Well,
you'd have to have a note from mommy when you showed up at the DNA testing center.
Yeah, that just takes advantage of guys. I mean, how do guys benefit at all by even getting involved with any women? It's completely...
What do you think I say on this program all the time? Why would you get married? Why wouldn't you have a vasectomy? Why wouldn't you use condoms? Why would you agree to have a baby with somebody? Why would you sign away half of everything you've ever earned? I keep saying it over and over.
You're absolutely right, Tom. Hey, can you take me out Kobe style?
Here you go.
This is about us. She's so special to me. Yeah, it beats in my heart. Yeah, the air I breathe. She's so special to me.
It's 1-800-5800-TOM. This is Mike on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, Tom.
Hey.
I got a quick comment about the domestic violence issue that everybody's talking about. And the thing is, it shouldn't even be an issue because, people like myself paying child support, if I was to find out that I really wasn't the father of that child, I would have so much relief in my life, so much less stress in my life, and I think there's a lot of other guys out there that are in the same boat. I mean, there'd be a whole lot more partying going on.
Well, I understand. I'll bet that there'd be a lot less children born if women knew they couldn't get knocked up behind a man's back and then get him to pay for it.
Absolutely.
I mean, you'd have a lot less births. You would see the birth rate noticeably go down.
Right.
I mean, if one in 25 children are not the children of the men who think they are the children, who they are their children. Forget. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm talking about. The bottom line is this would stop, or it would be slowed down dramatically if you had mandatory DNA testing. If every single live birth required a DNA test to put a man's name on the birth certificate, women would they'd start using birth control. They'd start having abortions. They'd start using what was available to them.
Yeah, somebody's got to be capitalizing off this stuff besides just the women to be running it the way that it's run. It just doesn't make any sense.
I agree with you, Mike. Thank you. Appreciate the call. Debbie on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm okay, Debbie.
Oh, good. Here's my theory on it. If women would just pop a pill every single day, if you're going to go cheat on your husband or your boyfriend, and you're popping a pill with him, why can't you pop your pill with your little boyfriend or your lover? That's my theory. You shouldn't be getting pregnant, period, if you don't want to be pregnant. And if you don't want to be pregnant, the best way to do that is to pop a pill or make him wear a condom.
Well, again, in a perfect world, that's what would happen. Unfortunately, what happens is I think people who are in bad marriages who need to screw around, they're already somewhat unstable or irresponsible to begin with.
True.
When they start screwing around.
But if you're in a bad marriage, there's a real simple solution for that. It's called divorce.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. The domestic violence nuts, by the way, I hate that phrase, domestic violence. I don't know why domestic violence is any worse than violence. We've got laws against violence. Why do we need a term called domestic violence or a term called violence against women? Like violence against men is somehow okay or better than that. I don't understand.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. There should not be any violence at all in any kind of inside of a marriage or inside of a relationship. There's no term for it. It's just violence. It's beating up on a woman or beating up on a man, and that's wrong in any way you look at it.
Well, calling it domestic violence and using terms like violence against women, you get the outcome that we have, which is that there's an awful lot of men who are physically attacked who don't get paid attention to, and then any time a woman even thinks her husband might hurt her, that's reason enough to call the police or for her to be able to shoot him or kill him or whatever.
Well, I have a friend who's in that same situation. He got beat up by his girlfriend, and what did she do? He defended himself, and she called the cops.
Yeah.
She called the cops, and he got arrested.
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So it's not right. It's not right. So thank you, Tom, for letting me voice my opinion. I appreciate it. And my husband would love it if you could take me out African tribal style.
Here you go, Debbie.
Baninge, 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 sopenza. Baninge, 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 sopenza. Kotalendenge, asika mama. Oya kotalendenge, asika mama.
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM. 1-800-5800-866.
If they hurt me, I stop loving them.
There's no second chance forgiveness.
If someone took a knife and put it in my heart, and I survived, I could not come out of the hospital and say, I love you, man. I couldn't do it.
The Tom Leykis Show.
It's the Tom Leykis Show. From New York City at 1-800-5800-TOM. Last week on this show we called for mandatory DNA testing every time a child is born. Every time. A number of people have written in about the so-called domestic violence issue. That if a man found out that his girl was not the father of his kid, he might commit a violent act. Violence is wrong, and people should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law for committing violent acts. Well, one way to prevent a violent act would be not to screw around, right, girls? Another way to prevent a violent act would be not to get involved with violent people. Right, dear? 1-800-5800-TOM. It's Amanda on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hi. I was calling in to talk a little bit more about violent men, and I've been in a violent relationship now. It actually started out beautiful, and the violence has progressed in the past 3 months to horrific. And I finally, when someone had to make me go do it, go to the police station and report him, thinking is no big deal. I was just going to make a police report to show him I mean business. You can't keep doing this to me. And it turns out it was a felony spousal abuse, and now they're having detectives go down to his work, and
good.
All this, yes, good. I don't like being treated this way, but even if someone is, I mean, this is such a short amount of time, such a huge amount of change. You don't just stop loving that person, but I honestly never.
I do.
You do?
Oh yeah. Somebody hurts me, I'm out. Out.
It's hard. Well, I
that's
really...
physical or emotional abuse. If somebody abuses me, I'm done.
I think sometimes for women it's hard to... It's really hard.
Why would anyone take women seriously if you would make a comment like that?
I think it's hard. He never struck me. He never hit me. He didn't punch me in the face. Today
what did he do? What did he actually do?
Today he choked me and bit the side of my face, and that's a
so he didn't actually hurt you. He only bit your face.
No, I said he'd never hit me. He didn't actually physically strike me, and they kept using that word, and I'm like, no, he didn't. He choked me and bit me. It's a confusing thing.
What is the difference?
Well, it's really unclear in these cases. A lot of women will go down and it's, well, what did you do to him? What was the fight about? I really just didn't want it to go that route. It's hard to believe that this is even me, and it's hard to just shut it off. But I know for a fact, the minute this started, I thought, I'm never having kids with this man. Not ever.
Right. But you still love him.
Well, it was today, Tom. It was the first. I mean, I just got home from the police department. I've been crying my eyes out. But yeah, it's hard to not worry about him.
What are you worried about him for? He bit you. He choked you. And that's not the first time he's touched you.
I left there today, and they said, okay, well, detectives will be going down to his work, and, we can't tell you whether he's going to be arrested or not. And that scared the crap out of me. I was just trying to get, some kind of report so when we do divorce that I could have something to take with me into court and say, look, this is why I want a divorce.
Well, if you have an attorney, that'll be a matter of public record, and that information will be available to you.
Yeah. Well, and they play real nice when they're sorry. So nice.
So what?
But really...
So what?
Yeah, no, so what? Fine. But when that guy...
I'm asking you a question. So what?
So what? It's over now. It's hard when
Good.
people are really sorry and crying, though. It's hard to not care about them. But for that
He doesn't care about you. He choked you and he bit you.
He doesn't. It took a minute to realize that, but you're right. He doesn't. I was going to talk about that guy who called in and said the girls like it. They like it. Today, my husband said that to me. You like it. And it made me so sick to my stomach because I thought, this is why I'm going to the police. He's never going to change. And all the women listening right now, if your man is hurting you, he is never going to change because he likes it. He likes what he's doing to you.
Yeah, but there are women like you who like the drama and stay because they like it.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
You got out. Good for you.
But they don't hate it, and they're not going to change. So the girls got to get out and do not have children with a man like that. And why would you ever cheat? That's like committing suicide if you're going to cheat on someone who's already abusive to you.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I'd be willing to bet there were signs that he was this kind of individual before you ever married him.
You'd be shocked. I've never met a person outside of me and my two best friends that have witnessed it that didn't fall completely in love with him. When he's so sweet, he's so great. They put on a really good front.
Yeah, but you had to have known things about him.
I can't even think of one. I mean, he's never been in a fist fight in his life. Never been to jail. Really timid, shy, barely talks. Probably at work right now listening if he's not in jail.
Mm-hmm. He belongs in jail.
Yeah.
That's where he belongs.
Yeah. Really? Yeah.
And there's nothing to feel sorry about. You did the right thing.
I thought I'd be the type of person that would take the fall. Whatever. If he robs a bank or if my kid kills someone, I'm never calling the police on them. But I couldn't. This is me, and I couldn't continue to be hurt.
Well, I'm proud of you for getting out. I'm proud of you for calling the police. There's nothing to feel badly about.
Well, just tell all the ladies out there they got to get out too. Get out and don't have kids.
Yeah.
Because I think about my little brother, and if his wife has a baby, he should have every single right to a DNA test.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And certainly the possibility of domestic violence should not be the reason to keep a man from having the right to having a DNA test to see if that kid is his.
No, the two have absolutely no correlation. I mean, honestly, if your man's domestically violent, that has nothing to do with the fact that it has nothing to do. One does not have anything to do with the other. I mean, if someone's mad at you because you cheated on them and had a baby, then if they're not abusive, they're not going to abuse you. If they're abusive,
I agree with you on that. Thank you for the call. Crystal on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hi, what's going on?
It's doing a radio show here.
Awesome. I've never called in before.
I can tell.
What?
I can tell.
Yeah, my mom says you're going to tear me apart.
Let's see. Let's find out. Your mom probably knows.
Well, Tom, I agree with you that a man should have a right to know. I totally agree with that. If they ask or if they want to later in the life of the child, if they're like questioning it and all that stuff. But I don't think it should have to be mandatory at birth because I mean it's just more for the hospital to do. It costs more money and everything, and so unless the male...
That's okay. You know what costs even more money? 18 years of child support to somebody whose kid I didn't have.
And I agree, but what I'm saying is if the father asks for one, I think that it should be mandatory, but I don't...
No, but here's what happens. You see, if the father has to ask, then the woman will always say,
What do you mean, you don't trust me? You don't trust me?
you know how that's going to be.
Well,
And then there'll be a lot of guys who'll be pussified or intimidated who will just say, all right, honey, I don't know what I was thinking, and that'll be it.
Well, then that sounds like a personal problem to me, Tom.
But it's a big problem. If it's mandatory, you do not have to explain it. You do not have to ask for permission. It's done automatically.
Okay, but if the male doesn't trust his wife, okay, then why is he with her in the first place?
It is not a matter of whether he trusts his wife.
You just said.
It is a lot of these guys do trust their wives. That's how they get away with having affairs.
Okay, well, males have affairs, women have affairs. It really.
That's not the point. It's one thing to have an affair. It's another thing to have an affair and then defraud somebody into paying child support.
And I totally agree with you.
But that's what is happening.
If a male asks for one, he should...
He should not have to ask. It should be mandatory. You know, there are certain things that are mandatory. For example, birth certificates. Mandatory.
Right.
That's the law.
Right.
Right?
That's because we're all a number. That's why, Tom.
Well, all right, but the point is there are other things about having a child that are mandatory.
I'm sorry, my mom's laughing
because she knew what you were going to get when you called in.
I'm not worried about it. Whatever. I think.
Whatever. Yeah, and I don't think a man should ever have to ask for something like this. What I can't believe is that a woman can just say, tag, you're it. She can name any person and put that person down as the father. And it could be a total lie, a total fabrication, and it's perfectly okay.
Yeah, my mom did that. They weren't married, and she put my dad as my, as the marriage, the father. She did that to save money.
What do you mean to save money?
Your dad. I mean, he is my dad, but I'm just saying, like, she could have said anybody, but, I agree with you in that sense, that a male should know, but just personally, I think that it should be something that the couple discusses. I mean, if there's really an issue within the marriage or the relationship to where there's no trust or he thinks that the woman's screwing around.
That's my point. If it was mandatory, that wouldn't be the question.
Yeah, well, it's just... I just don't think...
Then it would not be a question of trust. It would be happening for everybody. Honest people, dishonest people, everybody.
Well, what about... I'm just throwing this out there. What about religious people who are Christians or Jewish, whatever, who have strong beliefs in monogamous relationships and...
That doesn't mean anything. Many of them screw around, too. Many of them screw around, too. Many of them screw around, too.
And they might, Tom, but what I'm saying is they might be offended...
I don't care if they're offended. Tough luck. You know what I'm offended by? Being told I have to pay child support on children that aren't mine. That's what I'm offended by.
I'm offended too, but what I'm saying is...
I'm offended about having to pay welfare for people who go around screwing around, having babies they can't afford. I'm offended by that too. And I'm offended by the taxes I have to pay towards that. Aren't you offended by that? For God's sake.
The NFL season begins.
Send an email. Our email address is tom@blowmeuptom.com. That's tom@blowmeuptom.com.
The Tom Leykis Show.